We do a question like this, like question 12 on our assignment. This one was more difficult because you have a 2 in front of your x squared instead of just nothing. Well, typically it's a 1 there, but we don't write the 1. So in this case, there's a 2 there. So how do we do this? Well, like I've shown you before, I like to use my magic x. So up here I put a times c. Here I put b. And then on either side I'm going to put my two numbers. That, whatever, we'll get there. So a times c, if you remember, the general form of a quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c. So a times c, that's what goes there. A times c, well, that's 4. And then b just goes there. Well, b, right? b is 5. Okay, so what this tells me is, and this is like the sum type thing. Okay, so what this tells me is I need to find two numbers that sum to, or that multiply to 4 and sum to 5. So if we look at the factors of 4, well, you just have 1 and 4, 2 and 2. It's pretty clear to see we're going to have to use 1 and 4. Now they have to multiply to positive 4, so they're both going to have to be either negative or positive. They have to sum to positive 5, so we're going to need positive 1 and positive 4. Okay? So I'm going to put the 4 over here and the 1 over here. Okay? Right. Then I look at what is my a value, and I'm going to put that underneath each one. Okay? Now, let's not forget what we're doing. What we're doing is we're factorizing this. We're solving by factorizing. Okay? So going back to my magic x down here, I can simplify this fraction to 2 over 1. So now I have 2 over 1 and 1 over 2. Let's deal with 1 over 2 first. This 2 means I'm going to have 2x, and this 1 means plus 1. So the bottom number is the number that I put with the x. Okay? Here, I have 1 on the bottom, so that's just going to be 1x, or you can just write x. And then I have a positive 2 on top, so it's going to be x plus 2. And now I've factorized my quadratic, and I have the roots for my equation. So, like we were saying, either this piece here or this piece here, one of those two pieces has to be 0 in order for this to be true, right? Because if I have two numbers multiplied together and they equal 0, well, either this number is going to be 0 or this number is going to be 0, right? So, whoops, either 2x plus 1 equals 0 or x plus 2 equals 0. Let's look at x plus 2 first because it's the easier one. If x plus 2 equals 0, that means x needs to equal negative 2, right? Negative 2 plus 2 equals 0. Now, 2x plus 1, that's a little bit more complicated. Now we have to do a little bit of algebra. So I'm going to move this positive 1 across, or subtract it off from this side. What I do to one side of the equal sign, I have to do to the other side of the equal sign. So I'm going to be left with 2x equals negative 1. Okay. Now, last thing I have to do to get x by itself, I have to divide both sides by 2. Okay. So x is going to equal negative 1 over 2. So, now we have our solution. Either x equals negative 1 over 2, or x equals negative 2. Okay, so if we just say that x equals negative 1 over 2, or negative 2. There's our solution. Okay, and that is how you solve these types of questions. You could also just do guess and check when finding these roots. You don't have to use my magic x if you don't want to. I like to use it because it's better than, I think it's better than guessing and checking all the time. If you wanted to do a question like this with guess and check, let me just add on a little piece here. Okay, if I had something like 3x squared plus 5x, I'm not even, whatever, okay, and I want to factorize this, well, I know I'm likely going to have 3x and something, and then x and something, okay? right? If it's a 4, you could have 4x and something, or you could have 2x and something, right? That's where it gets a little bit more complicated. So that's why I like to use my method, because it clears that up.